Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So, you all know I've done a couple of videos about the Umar Johnson situation. For those of you who have not seen those videos, I'll post links in the card so that you can watch them for yourself. And I've noticed that some people are defending Umar Johnson. And for the purpose of this video, I'm going to respond to those people who are defending Umar Johnson because, for the most part, they are presenting very weak arguments that should be addressed. In order to address this issue, the first thing we have to understand is this. We need to identify the issues in this situation. There are three primary issues here. The Board of Psychology in Pennsylvania issued an order to show cause to Umar Johnson. They also issued a notice of hearing. And in their order to show cause, they allege that Umar Johnson does not have a license to practice psychology. They also allege that despite not having a license to practice, Umar Johnson has held himself out to have such a license. Umar Johnson has presented himself as a psychologist, even though he does not possess the license according to the state board. They also allege that he has held himself out to be a therapist. All of these things require a license. So those are the first two issues. The third issue is whether or not this man has acted in compliance with the GoFundMe website's rules and regulations. So he has this website, he has this GoFundMe account where he's raising all this money allegedly for a school, but GoFundMe has issued a notice saying that if he doesn't respond within 48 hours, his GoFundMe account could be removed. And so those are the three issues at hand. Now, the videos that I've seen defending Umar Johnson, they do not address those three issues. They address everything except for those three issues. And I'm going to tell you how they do it. The first thing that they do is they try to deflect. They say, well, you don't attack white supremacy the way you're going after Umar Johnson. They say you don't hold the black church accountable like you're trying to hold Umar Johnson accountable. They say you don't hold your legislative officials accountable the way you're trying to hold Umar Johnson accountable. And they also try to focus on white people. They say white people don't do this to their own. They don't question their own people's credentials, etc. And we know that that's not true. But anyway, all of these different tactics are tactics designed to focus your attention elsewhere instead of focusing on the three issues that I outlined at the beginning of this video. These people, they don't have any problem holding the black church accountable. They don't have any problem attacking so-called white supremacy. They don't have any problem criticizing indoctrination in the black church and this and that, and even the politicians and all that stuff. But when it comes to someone like a Umar Johnson, all of a sudden, they don't want to hold him accountable. All of a sudden, they want to deflect attention away from the core issue by having you talk about white supremacy, the black church, legislative officials, and white people. If you can hold all these other people accountable, just like you have said about, people trying to hold Umar Johnson accountable, why not hold this brother accountable? I mean, if you look at Umar Johnson's videos and all that stuff, you will see that he allegedly, tries to hold everybody accountable. But when it comes to himself, he can't be held accountable. This man has criticized black leaders. This man has criticized black politicians. This man has criticized black entertainers. This man has criticized black men and black women. He has psychoanalyzed everybody and held everybody accountable. But for some reason, people don't want to hold him accountable and they want to deflect the conversation to other matters instead of addressing those three issues that I mentioned at the very beginning. Also, another tactic used by these people who are defending Umar Johnson are shaming tactics. They call people coons. I was watching one video where this particular person was talking about how black people are not fit to have a savior. That was one argument that this person presented because they want to hold Umar Johnson accountable. What good is leadership if it cannot be held accountable? These leaders are not gods. These leaders are not perfect people, and they should be held accountable. That's what real leadership looks like. Real leadership should not be afraid of constructive criticism. Real leadership learns from constructive criticism. Real leadership is servant leadership, not leadership that's arrogant, leadership with all kinds of grandiose titles, leadership that's constantly boasting and bragging about this and that, about being a prince of Pan-Africanism, about how much they are in demand and how they are the most requested speaker. Real leadership doesn't do that. In fact, you will find that Umar Johnson has talked about like people being spokespeople but not really being organizers. And a lot of his criticism about those kinds of people can be pointed at himself. All he has to do is look at himself in the mirror and he will see that he is everything that he's criticizing. But back to these shaming tactics. So they call people coons. I've heard one person use this as an opportunity to bash black men in general. And this woman never misses an opportunity to bash black men. I had heard one person talk about how our mentality is flawed simply because we want to hold a leader accountable. People have said that the biggest opponent that you will face is black people, all these different things. And then some people have questioned whether or not you have given to this particular cause. If you have not given to Umar Johnson, you have no right to criticize. But yet, as another YouTuber pointed out, these same people that don't give to a church, for instance, feel free to criticize how the church uses its money, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, these shaming tactics are just ways to silence people, to silence critics. And another tactic used by some of these people is actual intimidation. Instead of addressing these allegations and focusing on those things, people are actually intimidating people. According to Umar Johnson's father, Jamal Johnson, Umar Johnson's supporters are threatening him. He's receiving threats from these people. And he's receiving threats because his own son put it out there that that his father is collaborating with these people who filed complaints against Umar Johnson. Without producing any kind of proof at all, he's put this allegation out there against his own father, and now his father is being threatened. It is just ridiculous that this would occur. These people claim to love Umar Johnson so much, but they're going to threaten the life of his father? How does that make any kind of sense? And how does responsible leadership encourage this kind of stuff? By trashing, his own father. Who does that? This is the man that wants to educate black boys. And some people will say, why does it matter if he has a license or not? They'll say, well, you don't need a license or a degree to talk about racism and white supremacy. You don't need a license or a degree to be an activist. Yes, that's true. You don't need those things. Malcolm X didn't have those things. But Malcolm X wasn't out here saying that he was a licensed psychologist. Malcolm X wasn't out here saying that he had this degree and that degree and blah, blah, blah. That's not the behavior of real leadership, man. Constantly bragging and boasting. That is the behavior of a narcissist. That is the behavior of somebody that's egocentric. That's not the behavior of a real leader. And it goes to this issue of credibility. That's the primary reason why this license issue is important. It goes to credibility because someone who presents themselves as having special knowledge that they do not in fact have, or special degrees that they do not in fact have, that person is nothing but a fraud. That person is what is known as a charlatan when they do that kind of stuff. And somebody that is a liar who deliberately misleads people, those people aren't trustworthy. Those people are not worthy of leadership. That's why this matters. So tell me what y'all think. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. And also, I want to let you all know that I will keep you up to date on this issue after the hearing. I'll do a follow-up video after the results of the hearing have been revealed to the public. I'll let you all know about that and share my thoughts about that. Peace and blessings to each and every one of you.